Welcome to Dad and Lad Talks Blues, a dedicated podcast where a father and son discusses all the joys and sorrows of supporting Birmingham City. Dad, game
Hi.
one done. How'd you feel?
Well, excited. That's right, isn't it? That's what I'm supposed to feel. Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah, first game done. God, it didn't disappoint, did it, Dad? It was. I mean, St Andrews was rocking. It came across really, really well over Sky Sports, and I don't know about you, Dad, but it's nice to hear the pundits actually talking about us in a positive way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I went to the pub, as you know, to watch it, and there was a couple of other Blues fans in there who were visiting the town, funnily enough, so that was nice.
Right.
And you're right, obviously having Clinton Morrison there helped, didn't it? He's always been positive, and Curtis as well. They were very complimentary about both sides, and let's be honest, Ipswich, they struggled last year, but they're a good side, and we knew it was going to be a challenge. And I said to you, didn't I, leading into the week, that I'd be happy with a draw, but a draw felt a bit hollow after the game, which I know we're going to come to. Over to you, mate.
Yeah, I mean that's that really. I think, like you said, I mean last season they spent over 100 million on their squad. They are a really, really good footballing side, and I think there is probably a lot of similarities with kind of how they set up their side to us, really, and kind of. We'll get onto the controversial things in a minute because I know that we want to talk about it, but I think fundamentally the new signings. What did you think about them, Dad?
Yeah, I thought they gave a fantastic account of themselves, considering it was the first game. They look like they've been playing together for weeks, and so obviously, I think it's worth just mentioning. Obviously, whatever's going on in training seems to be working. I was impressed with them all, but I think for me, Samuel was the man of the match. He was absolutely brilliant, and he gave everything. And he did run out of steam, but that match fitness will come, and I can see that midfield being dominant in the majority of the games we play in. They just looked awesome.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, yeah. Obviously, you mentioned Bright Samuel. I don't want to compare him to Ethan Laird because I know they're two different players, but it just seems that he is as strong going forward as he is going back. And I think, in a league where it is going to be open football, it is going to be end-to-end stuff, he was a fantastic attribute to the side. And, and kind of going on to Phil Neumann as well, kind of at the back, just him and Clara worked really well. Cochrane was incredible. I think Neumann brings that pace, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. And I think that, I'll come back to Neumann in a minute, if I may. I think the general work ethic of everybody, the players that have been there since last season and the new players, was just extraordinary. And we've heard Chris Davies sort of say again and again and again, it's that effort, it's the press, it's, the commitment that actually brings the edge. It's all about margins, isn't it? I mean, there's no doubting that the players there are skillful, got ability and all the rest of it. But that in itself isn't enough. It's about the effort and commitment. And that saving tackle that Neumann did when he ran diagonally across, and the speed he got there for a big lad, he got there really quickly, and a superbly timed tackle. all three of us that were in the pub watching it, all of us went yes when he did it. It was such a brilliant tackle, and the mark of hopefully what's to come.
Definitely, yeah, and I think it's almost like the players understand kind of what us blue noses look for in a side. To wear the heart on their sleeves and to put absolutely everything into the game. And quite right when you said that they are, some of them are unbelievable footballers. But it's like you said, it's the work ethic, it's the passion. They weren't just getting the first ball, the second ball, they were getting the third ball, even the fourth ball as well. And we talk about, I know you quickly touched on the midfield. Paik and Owata were an absolute handful for them, weren't they?
Extraordinary.
Ipswich couldn't get the ball out of the middle of the park. Every time one of them was on their ankles. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that I mentioned about the fitness. I think we did run out of steam. I think if I've got one minor criticism, and it is a minor one, and I think this will change before the end of the month, I'm not sure that the players that came on necessarily gave us the boost that we needed to push on to get a second, because actually that turned out to be the issue, and we'll talk about the penalty in a minute, I'm sure, but getting the second goal. If we'd gone 2-0 up, we'd have won that game. And but that's okay. I mean, I know, Davis has said, he said in the interview that he did last week that the business isn't finished yet, and we haven't signed any more since the Duck signed. So we are expecting. We definitely need cover on the wing. That's definite, but probably another fullback as well. But I feel a bit bad because I feel like I'm splitting hairs just for the sake of it.
Yeah, no, I don't. I completely get that. I mean, let's take Keshi Anderson for example. I think. Yeah. Overall, in the match, Keshi really stepped up.
He was great.
I mean, we know that he can play Championship football. He's played Championship football before, but the level that we're wanting to be at, he hasn't played at that level. And I think that did show a couple of times. He got into the final third, and just his final ball, his final cross or shot, just wasn't quite at that level. And listen, it could be a match fitness thing, it could be a match sharpness thing, and time will tell. But I think generally, I think you're right. We do need to strengthen the wing, because suddenly if one of them get injured, obviously Scott Wright's out until
December, isn't it?
Towards the end of the year. One man I kind of want to go on to, which I don't think many of us were expecting him to start. I think it was all Chris Davis said afterwards that it was due to Tommy Doyle having a bit of a bug. But Kyogo, what was Kyojo?
What a beast! I mean, absolutely incredible performance. And again, he did run out of steam, and we've covered that. I won't keep going on about it, but although I have. He's going to terrorise defenders, I think. And I think this is what I was talking about the substitutes. When Doyle's fit, those two can interchange really well. They're slightly different players. I think Kyogo's probably a bit more attacking, isn't he, than Doyle? But nonetheless, that number 10, which actually is really critical in the way we play. That number 10's a really important role, and it's really important that the right person is in there. Considering he'd never played in anger with those players before, obviously behind the scenes they'd have done practice matches, but to put in the performance they'd put in we were raving about him when we were talking about it, particularly the first half. He was extraordinary. Talk about enthusiastic, but skill, power, pace, looked brilliant. I love him. I've already fallen in love with him.
Yeah, and he's not a lone player as well, which is nice. No, I think he, it's the off the ball runs as well. It's him and Stano, and that's, to be honest, that's probably one of Stano's strengths is the off the ball runs. It's the movement that he has. It's instinctive, and those two kind of causing havoc. Let's talk about the first goal, or the disallowed goal, should I say? I watched it back. I've watched it back quite a few times, and I've really tried to obviously take off my Blues hat and kind of look at it from a neutral perspective. It was soft. It was soft. What was your thoughts, Dad?
Yeah, I think I tend to agree. I with these things, and I know we'll come to the penalty in a moment. I try and think of it from the other perspective. What if this was, in the favour of us? How would I feel? And I think, if I'm honest, if, Ipswich had attacked and, that had happened and we were defending, I think I probably would have called for the free kick, if I'm being honest. So I was okay with the fact that the referee gave a free kick. Obviously, it's disappointing because it was a lovely finish, but you could argue that he'd blown up before he kicked it. So the goalkeeper probably sort of stood still because of that, but nonetheless, he did take it well. It was a few minutes later when it went the other way, and he didn't pull it up. And that, for me, is what infuriates me. And I know you and I, we talked last season regularly about the incredibly poor performances of the officials. I couldn't believe that we got another Division 2 ref. I mean, he was poor for both sides. There were a lot of fouls that were really 50-50s that he could have let the game carry on. But it was almost like first game of the season, I want to let everybody know I'm here. That's what it felt like to me. And perhaps I'm being unfair, but he spoilt the game a bit for me with his incessant blowing up. There were a lot of fouls that he got right. So I'm not saying he was wrong all the time. But yeah, that inconsistency of it was almost identical challenge. And he let it go.
It was the same players as well. It was Furuhashi and centre back. Yeah. I mean, it's frustrating, the officials. I think the word that I would probably use
careful now
is inconsistent.
That's the word. And nothing.
Not the other word.
Yes, no. If I can just say this, that's the thing that infuriates me the most. I've got no problem with a harsh referee or a referee that lets things go if he's consistent with both sides. So if a referee has decided he's going to let play go, and he does that all through the game, for and against, no problem with that. It's when he seems to rewrite his rules and rewrite his, sort of boundaries, if you like, of what is acceptable and not acceptable. That's what infuriates me, and probably infuriates 99% of all football fans, to be truthful.
No, definitely, and one of the inconsistent things that definitely infuriated me was, obviously, we got this new. Is it like 7-second rule, 8-second rule with the
8-second
goalkeepers?
Yeah,
8-second, and obviously, it just didn't seem like that was consistent. And obviously, there was a lot of time wasting, from the get go, and you can understand it. The atmosphere was very much on top of the Ipswich players, and obviously, St Andrews is notoriously a nasty place to go, that's something that those poor decisions from the ref when he did get things wrong didn't help the situation.
No.
And ultimately, that kind of emotions were running high with the players, and there was a few scuffs. Before we kind of get onto the penalty, Stano's strike, that goal. I just want to quickly say, it's a prime example of the Chris Davis press. Blues were pressing. Bright Asai Samuel wins the header, and Stano does a very clever drop of the shoulder, lets it run, and again Kyogo lobs the keeper. Does really well to get the ball out of his feet that quickly, and Stano had the composure to score, and I have every confidence that he's going to score many more this season.
Sorry, Jordan. I was really pleased with that he scored. He'd had a couple of chances before that last season, during the season he would have put away. So obviously first game of the season, sort of getting back into the swing of it. So I'm pleased he scored, because it sort of wiped away the disappointment of those chances. And obviously, all players have got to kind of get back into it, haven't they? And I think you mentioned about the move that led up to it. When you look at the long view of the move, from the main stand side, his sort of running. So, like you say, he was involved in the initial build-up, but then his movement to get himself away from a defender and into the position for the follow-up was fantastic, and the Stano of old. And yes, his strike was good. The bloke in the pub next to me said, "I thought that was going to go over," but he. No, he hit it well. He's wrong foot as well, of course. He hit it with his left, didn't he? But for me, what made the goal was his movement to get himself into that position, to be ready for anything that comes out,
And he reacted first, and
definitely.
And then, obviously, brilliant, got the goal, and it just seemed like we were just getting a bit tired, and obviously, Ipswich, that they are a fantastic side. Kieran McKenna's done a brilliant job.
He has.
And and they slowly came back into the game.
I think, to be fair, the goal shocked them, and actually, within 2 or 3 minutes of the goal, they played in the way that we thought they would play from the beginning. Like you say, we shocked them into playing, which is like poking the bear, I suppose. But and to be fair, after we'd scored, they were the better side, and they played the better football. I can't really remember us having too many opportunities after that. And tiredness had got in. The press had sort of, we weren't pressing so much. We were giving them more space, defending deeper, which was allowing them to come on to us. And I'm sure Davis will deal with that as a thing. I feel I'm being overcritical. It's just an observation of the game. I think our performance was fantastic, but I think credit where it's due. Ipswich did play well and probably deserved an equaliser on that basis. The way they got that equaliser was a bit frustrating. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can do. Especially it stung a lot, especially that we didn't even allow them to have a shot on target all game. Yeah, I thought defensively we played brilliantly. There are going to be times in the season we'll need to hold back. We're not going to have the ball as much as we did last season, and we were really organised, and I thought that was really impressive. But like you said, Ipswich, they've got that quality, and obviously it hit 90 minutes, and the fourth official put up his board, and I thought, wait, 8 minutes? Where did the 8 minutes come from?
Well, again, that comes back to what you said a few minutes ago, Jordan, about the time wasting. To be fair, we started to do the very thing that Chris Davies criticised other teams of last season. And I think you've got to call it out where it is due. We slowed the game down. We were trying to slow the game down, which, of course, Ipswich tried to do in the first half to take the venom out of the crowd. But it didn't really work for them. We seemed to get penalised for our time wasting. I suppose you could argue that's fair, but it just seemed a bit, a bit churlish that we seemed to get penalised, yet there were only 2 minutes in the first half. But 8 minutes seemed a lot.
Yeah, no, and then obviously the ball came in on the corner, and there it obviously clipped Lyndon Dykes' his hand. I think, although it was harsh, I think pardon the pun, you got to hold your hands up, and
well, hey,
it was a handball. And I think the ref did get that decision, and then obviously George Hurst stepped up, and he's a quality player, and cool as a cucumber, and he slotted that in.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you said that, because I agree. Letter of the law, that is the rule now. The ball hits the hand in an unnatural position. It's a handball. It just felt a bit harsh because it only touched his. It was his fingertips, wasn't it? It wasn't. Yeah. Wasn't his. And actually, there are a couple of things about the challenge. I don't know if you noticed, but Cochrane's shirt was being pulled when he was trying to challenge for the ball, so he couldn't get to the ball. So there's an argument to say that we probably should have had a foul. And Dykes, although he got his hand to the ball, he was trying to get his head to the ball. He was being physically manhandled as well. Now there were a bit of sixes and sevens, but yeah. But I think if we're really honest, going back to what I said earlier on, if that had been against us, we'd have been screaming for the penalty. So, and I think that's the litmus test for me.
Absolutely. And then obviously there was that moment, after the goal, and I will say obviously we don't condone any violent behaviour from fans, but what I would say is, the Ipswich, I can't remember which player it was, but the Ipswich player, for context, so anybody didn't see it, pelted the ball into the tilt and behind the goal.
Yeah.
Of which, a lot of the Blues players, didn't, obviously, rightly so, challenged them on that and stood up, and there was a bit of a scuffle, and kind of went towards over the advertisement board, and, that's where a fan jumped over and, well, I say fan, jumped over and went for the Ipswich player. Now, I will say, like I said, not condoning that behaviour, but in fairness, what do you expect if you're gonna pelt a ball into the crowd? And let's be honest, the emotions were running high. Yeah, and I think that it is something that will need to be looked at. But I do hope that the FA do look at the greater picture and kind of in retrospect, it probably should be a red card really for an incident like that. You can't be kicking the ball into the stand like that purposefully.
Yeah, I think I might be wrong, but I think it's certainly a yellow card offence. I remember Liam Daish getting a yellow card for getting a trumpet off one of the fans and playing a trumpet after he scored a goal. In Barry Fridays, but that's another story. I think it was against Cardiff. But yeah, I've seen some posts on social media that it was Ashley Young, but I don't think it was Ashley Young. I think it was one of the other players. I mean, it'd be easy to, as Blues fans to blame him, but I don't think it was him.
John? I'll tell you what, if it was Ashley Young, there'll be definitely more than one person jumping over that advertisement board.
Well, that's true, actually. Yeah, and as you said, if I may say, we absolutely don't condone it. It's, the club won't accept stuff like that, and quite rightly so.
Although you would have been the first over there if you were there.
I wouldn't.
Of course.
You know that. I'd have pulled a muscle trying to get down the steps.
Yeah, so I mean, overall, I think we kind of the wound is healed a little bit, so to speak. I think overall it was a brilliant performance.
Yeah.
Playing like that against one of the favourite to win the league. Yeah. I think we've got a really exciting season ahead of us.
I agree.
Obviously, we've got a couple of fixtures this week. Wednesday night, it's the Capital One Cup game against Sheffield United. Dad, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, before I come to that, just to finish to underline the previous little bit. Bearing in mind, we've got players to come in. So, it was a great performance, but we've got other players to come in as well. So I think, we are in for an exciting time. Sheffield United on Wednesday. So
No, Sheffield United.
Oh, yes, sorry, it is Sheffield United. Very
Not
funny.
Wednesday.
Very funny, yes. So we got Sheffield Wednesday on United. Sorry, can resist. So I watched an hour of their game against Bristol City at the weekend. Obviously, they lost 4-1 against Bristol City. It was a really interesting match, actually, because both teams played... No. So Sheffield United played in a very similar style to us, but looked quite vulnerable at the back. So there was lots of room, lots of gaps for, you think the likes of Stano and Kyogo would. I mean, I don't know who's going to play a full strength side on Wednesday. We've got to talk about that, but if they do, I could see us having opportunities. And to be fair to Bristol City, I don't know the stats, but this is my perception from watching the game. They didn't appear to have the ball as much, yet they absolutely were ruthless with it when they had it, and that's what it's all about. And all 5 goals were cracking goals, but Bristol City's 4 goals were brilliant, worth a watch if you haven't seen them. Yeah.
Definitely.
So I think in passing, you asked me the question what I think. I think we can get a result, but I think we're going to need to attack them and not sit back.
Yeah. No, it'd be interesting. I wonder if James Beadle will get his first debut for the side, being a cup game.
It's a good opportunity for the reserve players, for want of a better word. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean. The squad players to get some minutes on the pitch, because you never know when you're going to need them. So it's a good opportunity. And the truth is, we're probably not going to win that cup this season. And let's be honest, I wouldn't be too upset if we did go out on Wednesday, although I'd like to go through. Don't get me wrong. And if it meant we could win, be at Wembley again, then bring it on. But I think I think the opportunity to give those squad players some minutes, I think he will. I think you're right. I think there could be 5 or 6 changes, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I think we'll also, due to fitness and things like that, we'll probably see a few first-team players get some minutes as well.
Yeah.
It'll be a good mixture. I think we can get a result from that. I think, like you said, I'm not necessarily too worried about that. I think in some ways it would be good to get the first win. Last season, opening game, obviously we drew against Reading.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
And the equaliser obviously was a penalty. And then in the cup we won. And then obviously we went on to win 111 points. So that sounds like if we win on Wednesday, might get another 111 points. No,
well, you never know.
No. So, but then obviously Saturday, second league game away at Blackburn.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen, we're actually taking over 7,000
there,
so that's going
to
be rocking.
I think we're going to get bigger. We're going to be allowed bigger percentages, I think, in the Championship, aren't we, than we got? Because obviously the grounds are bigger, and the majority of the grounds are bigger. So that's great for the team, because the guys make a great noise away. What do you think about the game itself? I didn't see any of the Albion game against Blackburn on Saturday, but I gather it was a pretty straightforward win for Albion from what I've read. Yeah,
it was really. I mean, obviously they had a man sent off right at the end of the game, as in West Brom did.
Oh, did they? Oh, didn't I missed that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from a statistical kind of point, it was quite even.
Right.
The only stat that was very heavily swinging in Albion's favour was the shots on target, but it was fairly similar. I mean, obviously, Blackburn will be looking to bounce back from that. We'll be looking at getting our first win. I think we have enough to get a result there. I think we'll win 1-0. It'll be a very good, organised, high tempo match.
I could see certainly getting a result there. I mean, they've been tipped as being one of the teams to struggle this season, haven't they? I'm not sure that they particularly strengthened their side from last year, and they did have problems last year. And when they were down with us the year we went down, weren't they? They've been down at the bottom for 2 or 3 seasons now. So obviously, former Premier League winners, of course. So obviously having a tough time at the moment. I meant to look before we recorded this. I meant to look who they'd signed, and I forgot to do so. But I don't know, if they've actually signed any notable, sort of players. I don't know. Have you got any knowledge on that?
I mean, they've kind of their activity has been, it's been okay. They've had several players leave. I'm just reminding myself. So, they've brought in a couple of players. They've spent 2 million on a Portuguese central midfielder.
Right.
He's 23. He's come from the Portuguese league. Kind of a lot of it is, sort of mid-level European players.
Sure.
I don't know much about them, to be honest.
No.
So, I think overall, they are, like you said, they have been struggling, we'll just obviously have to see where we go. But the beauty for the Championship, anybody can beat anybody on the day. So I think
absolutely,
we definitely need to be on it all the time, which CD gives me that impression, and I have every confidence in him. Yeah,
no, I completely agree. I think just briefly, there are. I think that the point you just made about anybody can beat anybody. I think we said that, didn't we, in our first one? And I mean, even more so than the First Division. this is a really competitive league, as we know, which I love. I mean, I do genuinely love the Championship. It's just there's teams that want to do well and put a few runs in, and you fly up the table generally because, as you say, because teams take points off each other. I mean, I think just to recap, because I think time's getting on. I think great first match, so great start to the season. Would have been lovely to have the 3 points, but the point, it was a good solid point. The performance was the key thing for me. New players looked the business. Exciting times to come, I think.
Definitely. Well, everybody, thanks very much for listening to Dan Ladd Talks Blues. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Get some comments in below. If there's any particular topics you would like us to discuss, please give us some comments. Give us a like and subscribe. So keep right on from Ladd.
And keep right on from Dad.
Ta-ra.
Ta-ra.